This is the Ventro jacket from Ultimate Direction, and it looks like it's made for some serious winter running. So with the temperatures dropping, it's time to put on the Ventro and take it for a run. .54 miles, 8 minutes, 18 seconds per mile, and 147 beats per minute today, going for a chilly run along the Heritage Trail in Iowa in 20-degree Fahrenheit temperatures. Perfect for testing out the men's Ventro jacket from Ultimate Direction. Now, before I give you my thoughts on this jacket and how it's done on some cold weather runs, I do want to go over some disclosures. This is a jacket that Ultimate Direction sent to me for the purpose of review. However, they're not paying me to make this video or to use the jacket, and they're not going to get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. So with that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about the Ventro. First, let's go over some specs. This jacket is made out of Eco Vivo insulate. It's a material that is 90% recycled, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And from my testing, the insulation definitely works. And the jacket has kind of three types of materials. There's a wind resistant material, that's kind of like the shiny, slippery stuff. Then there's also what they're calling grid fleece, which is designed to help let a lot of heat out. And then when you need to let even more heat out, there's actual ventilated areas in the jacket. So first, let's talk about the grid fleece a little bit more. The grid fleece is on the arms from kind of like a little bit below the elbow all the way to the wrist. And at the end of the wrist on each sleeve, there's what they're calling flip mitts, which allows you to flip it around and turn it into a little mitten in case you've forgotten gloves. Now, frankly, if I'm wearing this jacket, I'm almost certainly going to be bringing mittens with me, if not mittens and hand warmers, which is actually what I had on this day. So I usually don't use it in flip mitt extended mode, but what this ends up doing is providing kind of a double layer on top of the wrist, like right where the watch is, and it's like a nice little flap that I can pull back and see my wrist and see what's going on the watch. And then when I pull it back down, it's kind of like a double layer of fleece there to keep that area warm again. So I do kind of like the way this is working out, even if I'm not using the actual mitt. The other place where they have this grid fleece is along the sides of the jacket. And so what that does is it allows you to stay warm in these areas, but in case it does get a little bit too clammy, there's kind of perforations. You can almost kind of see through it. I'm not sure if you could see that, but you can almost kind of see through the material, and that lets a lot of that extra heat and moisture out if you're getting a little bit too warm. But the bulk of the jacket, at least in the front, is this wind resistant material, which is going to help keep all the wind off of you and block the wind from kind of cutting through you like winter winds always have a tendency to do. Now, underneath some of these areas, there are these little flaps, and underneath these flaps are actual vents. So there's ventilated areas. There's one on like each side of the chest, right above like the pectorals. And then there's also these vents right underneath the armpit right here. And then there is a bunch of that ventilation along the back to let just a ton of that extra hot air out while keeping the heat where you want it in the front. So I've been absolutely loving the way that this jacket is laid out. It works exceptionally well. It was 20 degrees on the run footage that you just saw. I also took it when I was up at Pikes Peak State Park in Iowa, and it was 16 degrees on that day. And I think I took it on one other day while I was back in Iowa. It was, I think if I'm remembering correctly, in the mid 20s. So I've definitely been able to put it through some legit winter running temperatures. Not the coldest it gets in the winter here in the Midwest, but some pretty cold days so that you can actually test how warm the jacket is. And on all 3 of those days, even the 16 degree Fahrenheit day, I was hot in the jacket. For today, on the running footage from the Heritage Trail that you saw, I wore a short sleeve shirt and the jacket, and I was warm. On the day that it was 16 degrees, I think I wore a long sleeve and the jacket, and again, I was a little bit too warm because the jacket is definitely insulated. This jacket is definitely going to stand up to some very cold temperatures. So I think that this jacket is going to be like deepest part of winter jacket for me. So when it gets to be around in Chicago, like it gets to be like around zero, sub-zero for a handful of days. That's about as cold as it gets. But we spend a lot of time in like the single digits and in the low teens. And I think that this is definitely going to be able to handle a lot of those really, really cold days when we've got bunches of those days stretched in a row. This is the jacket that I'm going to be reaching for. The only thing that I don't love about it is that I just, I like the colors, but together I just feel like some of this design is a bit like visually, aesthetically, a little bit underwhelming. It's not going to be like my favorite jacket to reach for in the closet. It'll be certainly one that I reach for happily on those cold days because I know it's going to keep me warm. But in terms of like looking good, feeling good, that kind of thing in it, it's very functional. Let's just put it that way. So that's like the only real knock that I can give on it is that, like, I guess 2. One is it's going to be too warm for a lot of people on a lot of days. And like visually, aesthetically, it leaves a little bit to be desired, but otherwise an extremely functional piece, and it's not too heavy of a jacket either. It's not the lightest, it's not like ultralight, ultra packable, but for how much warmth it's providing, I feel like it's a good amount of weight to live with for those longer runs out in those colder temperatures. So it's a jacket that I'm extremely excited to be running in. It's a little bit on the pricey side at $200, but it's certainly performing to that level in terms of what it's able to provide on a technical level. I'm very excited to put it through some further torture testing. So hit that subscribe button so you could see some of those super cold, super snowy days. Hopefully we'll get some snowy days soon as we get deeper into the winter here in the Midwest. If you have any questions about the Ventro, put them in the comments down below. I'd love to talk to you there, or better yet, feel free to stop by the live stream that I do Monday through Friday right here on YouTube. I'd love to talk to you in the chat. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?